Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Laura and I'm very happy to have you join me today. And if you're new here, consider giving me the thumbs up as it really helps my channel, but also by hitting that subscribe button and leaving me your comments because I really love to hear from you guys. I get really great feedback. And don't forget to hit the bell so you get the notifications when we come up with new projects. And just as a reminder, I leave all kinds of really fantastic links in the description below. So certainly go in there and click on those links and maybe you'll find another project that you really enjoy making. All right, so let's get started as I show you how to make one of these really great keychains. These ones are Christmas ornaments and there are design variables with them, and I'll go over those with you guys in the video. So let's go. So the materials we will need for this project is a ruler. We have a key ring, two types of wire. This is a 24 gauge silver aluminum, and this is a 12 gauge pink aluminum. We have a assortment of pliers. To start, we are going to measure out about 45 centimeters of our pink aluminum, and we need two of these. So we got that length, and then we'll just double up very approximate measurements here, and then we're going to use about 60 centimeters of our silver aluminum. Now you can use any color variation that you like. I just like the silver as a wrapping, just because it's a neutral color and it goes with pretty much anything. So I'll just put this out of the way for the moment, and we're just going to take one of our pink pieces, and this is super easy to work with. I really love the aluminum. So what I've done is I've folded it in half. There's a little bit of a length difference on this side. Oh, see, and I leveled that out, or I evened it out. So, but what I'm going with there is that, you know, a slight difference is not going to affect your project. So what I've done is I've gone in and I folded it in half-ish, so just bent it upon itself, right, to create this little loop here. Straightened it out once again, and then we want to pinch that nice and tight. So we really want those wires to butt up against one another like so. Okay, keep them nice and parallel, keep them straight together. All right, so we do the same thing with our second wire. And once again, this is a 12 gauge aluminum. So it's fairly heavy duty, but it is aluminum. So aluminum has quickly become one of my favorite wires to use. So then we just give that a little squeeze and keep those wires parallel. Okay, that's the first step. So now we reintroduce our silver, and once again we're just folding it in half like so, and kind of pinching that end so that it's a fairly close curve here. And then we take our first pink piece, and we pop that silver wire right directly behind the loop. And then taking our, just one side, doesn't matter if you start with the left or the right. And then we're going to slippery. We're going to just give it a couple, 3, 4 wraps, okay, like so. And we are capturing this second wire, okay, so the one that we hadn't wrapped, we do want to capture it behind these 4 wraps that we just did here. Okay, awesome. So then we take our second piece of pink wire, and this gets a little fumbly, okay, this gets a little bit finicky, so excuse me. So be patient with yourself and just really take your time. So I took this second piece and I popped it over top of that loop, and I do want it to fit against that silver piece that we just wrapped, and then I want to bend these 2 pieces together. So we're closing that loop again, right? So this is where we started, right? It was just like that, just the same as this one. Popped it over top of the one that we had started to wind with the silver, holding on to it quite firmly, and it will slip around. So then we want to take the wire, the silver wire that we had captured behind these loops. So we want to take that one and we want to bring it around to the front, taking and separating the wires that was our first loop, just moving them out of the way. That's all we're doing. And I'm right-handed, so I'm going to flip this around this way. And then we're going to take our silver wire and we're going to do 4 wraps just like we did here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we want to squeeze those together as much as possible. And we're moving this wire out of the way. All right, so we're taking the 2 wires that were the originating loop where we did our first silver wraps, and then we are bringing them across the 2 that we were just working on, the 2 that we just wrapped with the silver, and cross them over one another. All right, so what this is doing is this is just creating this additional loop. And there's still a bit of movement in this, okay? And there will be just 4 until we do a couple more of these. So then I have just bent it so that the bend sits just underneath this wrap that we did. Like so. So you can see they kind of fit together to create this loop. And then I'm bending the 2 that we just worked on out of the way. All right, so we want to make sure the wire that we just wrapped with is underneath, parallel, or part of these ones that we have forward, because once again, we do want to capture this wire on the back of our piece. Okay, so you can see the first one was captured in here, and this one is the next one that we're wrapping on. This one here we want to wrap in with these ones. All right, I hope that makes sense. So we're coming around and we're going to wrap 4 times, like so. Okay, squeezing those nice and close together. We're going to repeat the process. So we bring the wires we had sticking out around the silver that we just wrapped, and then we're going to come back and we're going to create that little bit of a curve or that little bit of a bend, like so, creating our next link. we take our straight wires and we move them out of the way, making sure our silver wire is in between these two. And then we're going to take this wire and we're going to wrap it once again. 4 times. And really, you know, once you know the process of these, it goes super fast. It's just this first part that ends up being just a little bit finicky. But once you've got it nice and tight and have a couple more of the loops, then yeah, it just it goes so quickly. All right, so now we're taking the ones that are sticking out and we're going to curve them around where we wrapped the silver there, and then bend them back. Okay, moving aside the straight ones leaves us with our link. We're developing link. Then we want to bring this wire down here, and we're going to come in here and we're going to do 4 more wraps. Now there's going to be a lot of variables as far as how long this is. As you can see with these ones, this one is an ornament. It is short, but it's also done with a finer gauge wire. I'm going to guess this is probably a 20, an 8, actually probably about an 18 here. And then this one is a little bit heavier again. And this one I would say is probably a 14. I made them just with stuff that I had kicking around, so I'm not 100% sure. But you can see the difference in the bulk of the pieces. And once again, this one is a heavier gauge too. So there are variables. And lengthwise as well, right? So this one is intended as a keychain, so it'll be logistically just a little bit shorter so that it actually fits in a pocket if necessary, whereas this one is probably just too long for that. You know, and this one probably is getting too long as well. So looking at that, I think we'll do one more link and then we'll move on to the keychain part of it. Okay, so bending that like so, move these out of the way, and I could put a little bit of a warble in there. I think I want to straighten that out. Okay, coming around with my wire, and I'm going to do 4 reps. Okay, so those wires crossed over. I don't want that, so I'm going to just move them so that they go back in their originating position. Okay, then we'll come back around with this one. And as you can see, the wire's starting to get a little bit stiff, and that's the way wire works. The more you manipulate it, it hardens, and then eventually it'll reach its breaking point. Not likely to happen in a project like we're doing today, but it certainly happens. I know I've done a few videos, and I've left those parts in just as a good example that it happens to everyone, and it's really no big deal. Most of the time you can recover from it just by adding the wire back in. So okay, so this will be our last one here. Now we didn't end up with a lot of the silver left. And so then what we're going to do here Actually, as we're going to, because we will cut this off once we get a little bit further in, so we'll just leave these off to the side for the moment. So I want to go in and I'm going to cut my wires so that they're, oh, well, let's go with 6 centimeters for this one. And then let's go with 8 centimeters for this second one. And play around with this part of it and just see what kind of designs you come up with. This is just a very, very basic variable for this. So super easy for anybody to do. Okay, so I moved those 2 wires across what I deem to be the front of my piece. And they're going to get captured underneath these. So then we'll snip them off right in here. And then we want to press them flat. All right. So now we take our round nose pliers. You can use chain nose pliers for these as well. Chain nose tend to have a tooth to them, whereas the jewelry pliers don't. So these are much nicer to use for soft wire like aluminum. And then we just grab that end, turn it in, and just create that little loop. And then I'm going to curl this, continue to curl this all the way down. And what I did there is the wire had just overlapped itself, and I just flattened it out. Okay, so I brought that loop in so that it completely covered those last wraps of the silver, and now the cut ends are underneath, so it won't be problematic as far as them snagging on anything. Okay, so then we're going to take our next one, same thing, we're going to create a loop. Like so, and then same thing, we're going to curl it down. Just like that. We'll just set it on top of that first one. All right, now we have the 2 side ones, and I'm not going to cut them off until I get closer to the end, and I like to work on both sides at the same time so that you match up your design as closely as possible. So we're just taking our barrel nose pliers and popping it around the wire at the base of those first 2 loops that we did, and we're just curling it. We're just making another little loop like so. Okay, same thing on the other side. Put it nice and close to the base and bring those wires around. Okay, flattening it out, checking the placement, and then we're going to do the same thing here. Leaving just a little bit of a gap, not much. Okay, there's that one. We do the second side. Okay, not bad, fairly close. All right, and then we're going to bend those towards one another. And we really preferably are not overlapping the loops that we did in the center. Okay, and this is just kind of giving the wires some memory, is what we're doing here. All right, and then we're going to find more or less the center here. We're going to create another loop, small one, okay, like so. I might want to make that just a titch bigger because we do need our key ring to fit through here. All right, good, I like it. So we snip that off nice and close. just going to press it flat. Okay, awesome. Okay, so now we're going to come in with this one. Same thing, we're going to bring it in nice and tight, making sure we don't overlap our loop here. And then we're going to take this wire and we're actually going to bend it around this one that we just made, a smaller one. So it will be slightly larger. All right, it's a little warbly. We'll straighten that out. There we go. And then we will snip that nice and close. Now we want to make sure that we don't have any prominent ends sticking out, so just trim it as need be to make sure that it's going to fit flush up against your wires here. And I'm going to cut a little bit more. So that's what it is, just teeny tiny steps to mold it and make sure that it's fitting. All right, that seems pretty darn good. All right, awesome, really lovely. I quite like it. So then the next step is just to take our jump ring and to fit it through those 2 loops. And this might really scar up your wire, but once it's on there, it's on there. And then just making sure everything is nice and tight. Super pretty, very lovely. And if you noticed, what I did with the key ring here is I made my loops to the inside of this, whereas these 2, because they're decorations, that didn't factor in. But this being a keychain with the loops on the inside, it's less likely to catch on something and be damaged. So just an FYI. So thank you so much for popping by and joining me to make this really great project. I really appreciate it. And while you're here, please don't forget to give me the thumbs up, as it really helps my channel. And also subscribe, comment, and click the bell to get the channel notifications when I come up with new projects. So for now, thanks again. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you soon.